Well, la dee da, ladies and gentlemen. It's that time again for another episode of FTWGT Weekly. It's your boy Lenny, joined again by producer extraordinaire Dante.
You pointed. I thought you were going to make me introduce myself.
No, I would never make you do that.
It's not the same, you know?
You doing well though? Good. Great.
Yeah. We're live. I woke up today.
I love to hear that. I love to hear it. Before we get into today's hijinks and theatrics, if you could help us get a marketing deal with the likes of Walmart, Target, Buc-ee's, anywhere else.
I don't want to push this as a great value podcast. I don't know. Maybe we drop that one.
Wayfair, we also support smuggling children and
no, we
furniture.
do not.
No, that's not the type of podcast we are.
No.
It's good commerce. If you could like, comment, share, and subscribe on the podcast today, we would greatly appreciate that. Dante, I wanted to start us off here, though, if I could. Are you a water parks guy? I know you can't swim, but are you a water parks guy?
I mean, I've gone to a water park or two, but it's not like my go-to.
So you're not like going on water slides, anything?
I've gone on them, yeah.
Do you think there's too many kids at water parks?
Yes, but I think it's for kids, so.
What if I told you that I stumbled across an Instagram ad for a 21 plus after dark water park?
That sounds sick.
Yeah, right? Kind of cool.
How far do I have to travel for that?
Pennsylvania.
That's not too bad.
No.
It's not too bad.
They had all like the standard rides, but it was like nighttime, and it looks like they had a little bit of a club at some in a part of it too.
Okay, that sounds sick.
21 plus, hitting it, for me, grabbing a couple drinks, going to hit that toilet bowl water slide. You know the one I'm talking about? It's not like
no,
but it's like you drop from the side.
And then, and you like spiral around it, right?
Yeah, you go up and like go really high up one wall and come back down and keep going down it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Like that'd be sick. That one freaks me out. I've only been on it like once or twice. But like when you get to the peak of the first drop, like you feel like you're way too high up in the air.
Any of the like aggressive ones that you sit on a float, let me tell you, the float usually doesn't make it to the end with me.
No, you lose it.
I'll be like gripping for dear life, but the problem is, it's like either I hang on to this thing or I'm going down this slide face down. So I have to make a life or death decision.
I saw another one, and this wasn't from the same park, but it was like it's like a pitch black one, which I hate those ones where you go down it and you can't see anything. They just have like a black tube, so it's completely dark inside of it. Because like, you know what the issue I have? It's not that I'm scared; it's that you can't brace yourself.
I don't know which direction I'm going.
Yeah, and it's like this. It's like, and I know it's meant to be disorienting, but it's like it honestly doesn't feel good to kind of like just get whipped in like different directions without being able to kind of go with the flow a little bit on them.
Because even at like theme parks or like fairs or whatever, like I'm cool with roller coasters. I'm not really a huge fan of like rides.
I think okay. So are roller coasters rides, but rides aren't roller coasters? How does this work?
Yes. It's a squares and rectangles situation.
Okay, all right. Because like, what would you classify as a ride?
Anything that's not a roller coaster, pretty much.
You have no examples for me? Okay, so for instance,
there's a lot of like the spinny ones, right? So like the one that's like, it's like a spinning carousel, but it also like swings you left and right. I get off those shits and I'm like super fucking nauseous. I can't do it.
Okay, I don't get dizzy like that from those things. I don't like those ones when they go upside down.
If a roller coaster goes upside down, I'm game.
But yeah, but you know what I'm talking about? The one you're talking about, but they have.
Oh, you're talking about like the pirate ship.
No, those don't go upside down, Dante. Pirate ships don't go upside down. But the one you're talking about, where it's the pendulum similar to the pirate ship, but you're sitting with the harness over your shoulders and your feet are dangling, they have some of those where they go completely flip upside down and come back down around.
Yeah, I might be one of the people to like make it rain on the people waiting in line.
You're pissing, dude?
No, dog, come on. There's kids in that line, man.
Also, I think if you're going upside down while pissing, you're just pissing on yourself.
Especially if I'm just pissing in my pants, it's definitely just trickling all onto me.
Yeah, it's a golden shower, dude. And I'm really 50-50 on upside down roller coasters, if I'm honest. Like,
Yeah.
I'll do several of them, but there's ones where I walk up to the roller coaster, and I'll look and I'm like, yeah, this one's just like doesn't seem worth it.
So, like, as somebody that's afraid of heights, there's definitely a lot of roller coasters where I walk up to it and I'm like, fuck, what am I doing? But then I always get a friend that like talks me into it, and by the time we go through it, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do that again.
Yeah, like I said, there's definitely ones that I like. Like I'm like obviously thinking about Six Flags for us. And like I fuck with the Batman one, and that one goes upside down a decent amount. I had a terrible experience on Mind Eraser as a kid.
That one's my favorite, but that one also freaks me out because since you're hanging under it, it always feels like your legs are gonna hit like the like support beams and shit.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. I just remember when I was really young, like the Mind Eraser aspect of it, like my fucking head was just like whipping, like rattling around, and I was like, "Is that why they call this that?" Like,
I mean that they call it that, and it makes you think that's what's gonna happen, but I never really got that much of a whipping effect from it.
it only happened when I was younger. It doesn't bother me so much anymore. But there's the one. Is it maybe like an Incredible Hulk one now at Six Flags?
That must be new. I don't remember there being a Hulk one.
Like, there's a couple of the ones where you start so there's the one where you go up like straight ahead, like they pull you up first, and then they
And then
launch you
drops you.
backwards,
That's the Goliath.
and then they flip you. But then there's also the one where you go up and it corkscrews as you go up, and then it comes back down and corkscrews and goes like backwards, and then you go up the other side and it does the same thing. That's like
Is
a
that the
newer one.
pandemonium?
Dude, like the fact that you know all the fucking names is weird.
I mean, I've been on pretty much all the roller coasters at Six Flags, and I love them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the ones where I look and I'm like, yeah, I
Because
just
I
don't
think
want to
the
do it.
Goliath is the newest one, and honestly, now that I think of it, you might be right. It goes up, corkscrews, then comes
And
down,
is the Goliath,
and it does
there's
the
the one
same
you're
thing on
thinking?
both sides, right? It's like a U
It's
shape.
and is it 4 seats and like 2 and 2 facing each other?
No, it's just roller
I feel like
coaster
they're
style.
facing each other. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't fucking know. I'm making shit up. How about wooden roller coasters?
Those ones freak me out. So the one they decommissioned at Six Flags New England,
Colossus?
no, it was it started with a T. I think it was like the tornado or the thunder or something like that.
Thunderstruck. I think it's Thunder.
Something like that, yeah. Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that was like a weird Tourette's thing that just happened.
Sorry,
No,
just got hit with some ACDC, you know?
I liked it.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, yeah, you killed that.
Hell yeah. Um, but yeah, no, that one used to always freak me out because like it wasn't a slow roller coaster, and like the whole time you're going through it, you hear it like creaking and cracking, and just it freaked me the fuck
Well,
out.
I think it's like the most fucked up thing. You're standing in line for wooden roller coasters, and you watch as the thing goes by a curve, and you see the wood like
Sway,
like shifting with it, and you're like, all right, this thing's bound to break at some point. Am I going to be the one? But like similar to what you were saying about like, but then you get off of it, and you're like, that's kind of fucking sick, and I wasn't the one, so
yeah, it's cool when you survive.
Yeah, but my initial point, like, I think there should be like Water Country should be after 8 p.m. 21 plus,
Yeah, those kids don't need to be out that late.
and like that'd be sick. Like you have like they also showed some weird stuff. Like they had like a phone thing like going on in one of the things in the 21 plus thing. I don't know how I feel about that. Like I feel like that water probably gets pretty nasty.
Because I also saw they were putting I was recently at Foxwoods and they're putting like a Great Wolf Lodge there as part of the resort.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't really know what a Great Wolf Lodge is.
It's a water park.
Didn't know that. Like they're gonna just put one outside of it.
Yeah, like when we were riding in, like I noticed like the like water slide that was like halfway constructed, and I was like, "What the fuck are they putting up a water park?" And then as I was walking through Foxwoods, I saw some signs that were like, "Oh, Great Wolf Lodge coming soon," and I was like, "Ah, that makes sense."
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because like I don't think that there's enough to do at Foxwoods. Like obviously if you're a gambler, there's plenty to do. And there's like shopping in there.
Yeah, there's
It's a cool place.
mall.
it's a cool place to spend a night. Don't get me wrong, but like you're not. I don't think you're going with like your family and spending like a couple of days in fucking Connecticut at Foxwoods. You know?
I mean, ultimately, I think the objective has to be going there for gambling. Like, there is other shit to break it up in between gambling, but if you go there with the intent to not gamble at all, you're not really going to have a great time.
Well, but I think it becomes like if you add a water park and stuff, it starts getting a little bit. It's not Vegas, but you know how like Vegas, you're gonna go there and like you have all the casinos, but you
Oh
also
yeah,
have
there's
like
a ton of shit to
rides and
do
like
other than gambling. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you have like good restaurants, rides, like shit like that. All these things to do. To where like if you're a father, you go there with your family. You're like, okay, like I'm gonna spend like 6 or 7 hours like doing whatever with my family, but I'm still gonna get my gambling in. Like
No,
I feel like Foxwoods in its current iteration, or at least through most of my like 20s and stuff, is like you just need to be a gambler to go there. Like you just need to be into gambling. Be like, I'm gonna go.
yeah.
And I think it's good to give some options. And I think I would stay there 2 days if I was like, oh, I can go hit a water park real quick. That's kind of sick. I can chill in the lazy river for a little while and like deal with my losses at the blackjack table the night before. You know?
You go there and contemplate: do I need to flip this float upside down and
yeah,
just
yeah,
fucking end
yeah.
it all?
I'm just gonna go sit under this waterfall for a while and
Yeah,
fucking look up.
fuck.
uh Yeah, let us know, people. What do you think of 21 plus water parks? I think it's a great idea. I think there needs to be more of it. I think we need more innovation in the world of like 21 plus stuff. And I
Yeah,
appreciate places like pushing the boundaries. I also saw another thing of this bar in the I don't know exactly. It's the Midtown Mall in Worcester. Are you familiar with this? No, me neither really. I was at like the
only thing I
Palladium.
really know in Worcester, I was gonna say, is the Palladium and the DCU Center.
So I was at the Palladium like a month ago maybe, and I parked in like a garage that's like a few blocks away. And I
Okay.
was walking over, and there's like a and I don't know if it's this because it's called a mall, but it's like it's not like a mall in the traditional sense that we think about a mall. It was like in like a strip of buildings, and it just said it was the mall, and I don't know if this is the one that
So
they're
that's
referencing.
what I would identify as a plaza.
Yeah, see, I think that would be more accurate. Yeah, although South Shore Plaza is still a mall.
It is. I think it maybe used to be a plaza. I don't know.
But there's a bar inside of it that's like a retro, like one of the ones that has like all N64 games and like shit like that all through it. And I was like there needs to be more of that stuff.
Mm.
Like game bars. I know there's like Rhode Island's had a couple when I've been there. I don't know, like I'm sure Boston, like we went to one in Boston like somewhat recently, and I wasn't that impressed by it.
Yeah, no, I went
Because
to one in Rhode Island called Free Play,
yeah.
and like that was cool. Like you just pay like a $10 cover charge, and then they have a ton of arcade machines, and they're all just free to play. You just kind of play as much as you want, kind of shit.
Well,
There's a
wasn't
bar and
that
everything too.
what was the one in Boston we went to?
I think it was called Barcade.
Yeah. And like my only beef with that is it was too small.
Yeah, I mean, granted, like this place Free Play wasn't huge either, but I also went there on a Monday night, so
Yeah.
like it was fine.
Like
You know
I
what I mean?
think I thought like the barcade place was cool because like although I thought the guys that were at the bar were losers, I thought the fact that like people could be playing a game and like everybody at the bar is like watching and getting kind of into it as like they're drinking the drinks and stuff like that was like kind of cool and had like a fun energy. I just thought the dudes playing were fucking losers, but
It has like the potential to be a cool vibe, but you need the right people in the environment, I think.
well, I think it would also be cool if you had a bigger space because then maybe you have tables and at the tables you have like a TV at the end of the table and you could
Mm.
play like Mario Kart or like whatever it is like at your individual tables as opposed to just having like the way that place was set up for anybody who hasn't gone is like they have two TVs behind the bar or three TVs behind the bar that all can like are hooked up to like gaming consoles. And then on each end of the bar they had like your arcade games in like little room areas that were like way too packed. And then then you had tables that you could play like card games and like board games and shit like that, Django, whatever it is. And I think that stuff's all cool. I just don't think there was enough room. And it's Boston. It's more made for college kids. It felt like I get why it's the size that it is, but I think it's a cool premise if you have more space.
I think that's just the type of place that hits better on a weeknight.
Yeah, yeah, as opposed
Yeah.
to trying to go in there on a Friday or a Saturday and like
Yeah, like a crowded weekend,
yeah
you know.
battle through people. Hear it.
Yeah.
Cool. Let us know what you guys think. 21 plus water parks. Water
21 plus everything.
country.
Take your kids home.
Yeah. Fuck them kids.
You know?
But yeah, water country, Six Flags, any of you guys want to sponsor us. In order to do so, we're not going to need likes, comments, shares, subscribes down below, or else it won't happen. So we had a couple movie trailers drop this week.
Yeah.
That I we've both watched at this point. Let's start with Alien. I wanted to know, have you watched Alien?
I don't think I've watched any of them before. I know I watched Prometheus. That was an Alien like prequel, right?
Yeah.
I watched that like years ago in the theater, but I don't remember anything from it. So I'm just gonna venture and say no. I haven't really watched much of Alien.
Okay. So I actually recently watched some of Alien 1 and 2, but I feel like I didn't do, or Alien and Aliens, my bad, to anybody that's like a hardcore fan. And I appreciate how great they are, and it's like my type of movie that I enjoy a lot. But they are a little bit older, obviously. So they're not something that like has stuck with me, I would say, a ton as I've gotten older. And it's a franchise that people have tried to go back to like a bunch of times in my adolescence until now. So you've had Alien vs Predator, Alien AVP Resurrection or something like that, and then you had Alien Requiem, where it was another one. I want to just double check that I'm right on there. There was a second
Alien Requiem
versus
for a Dream.
Yeah,
They were hooked on drugs.
Yeah, it was Alien vs Predator Requiem. It came out in 2007. Okay. And then you also had Alien Covenant, which is a sequel to Prometheus.
Okay.
And I would say largely like all of these have been lackluster, especially in the eyes of the fans. Like I had an appreciation for AVP because I liked like it's campy and it's fun, and I enjoy Predator a lot. Predator has resonated way more with me than Alien ever did. So like those two worlds kind of crossing paths, I thought I really enjoyed, especially when I was younger. I think I've grown to be like, it's like kind of a cheesy movie, but it's still fun. The sequel, the Requiem one, bad. Didn't like it at all. And me personally, like I did not like Covenant. I thought it like veered off into some weird, like I don't know. The thing with Prometheus and Covenant is like it's not really like it's like veers into this weird like more about the human characters and all of this stuff, and like it just didn't work for me. I didn't like Fassbender that much in it. With that being said, get to this latest trailer for Alien Romulus, which you have Kaylee Spraney, which Civil War, right? And we just talked about her getting cast in Knives Out. So she's clearly making some moves. Isabel Mersad also
She was
in
in
this.
Madam Web, right?
Yes. Yeah, she's also in it. And then dude, Archie Renault, who I recognize from the trailer, but I can't remember why.
The name sounds familiar.
He's an upgraded Dante. That's why we know him.
That's why the name sounds familiar.
He's the dude from Upgraded.
Because you got me looking at all these IMDb's after every movie I watch. Now names start to sound familiar.
Yeah, well, that's why I start to know them. I know people's real names way more than I know their names in movies themselves. So, but yeah, you have a decent little cast. And apparently, like this movie is supposed to take place between Alien 1 and 2, which, or again, Alien and Aliens. I know people will come for me about like
stop fucking up, man.
That's my bad. Which I had this question when I read that. How do you feel about like we've had this happen a lot recently where we like retcon things, right? And like they've said that this isn't supposed to affect like it's not going to impact like the story that they've told so far with the Alien franchise, like so in the sense that it's not going to retcon anything, right? But we've just seen this a decent amount with like the newer reboots to things. Halloween's the first one that comes to mind, where it's like we can just pick up a story where we want to and write a bunch of shit out of it if we feel like it to make it fit our story more. How do you feel about like this being kind of the way? Would you rather see them do stuff like this where it's like we feel like there's a story we can tell in between Alien and Aliens versus just being like, let's make a modern Alien movie that isn't attached to anything, you know?
Yeah. I think it just goes back to like the no ideas original. So they're gonna try and go back and tap on like nostalgic value, I guess.
Yeah, I guess in like the grander scheme of things, I don't have a real issue with it if executed well, right? If you do good fan service to the stuff that came before it while also adding your own spin onto things, I think I can get with that. It's when you just do it for the sake of like I fear that sometimes when you do it, it's to be able to sell, right? And we kind of talked about this with Furiosa in a way last week, right? Where it's like, would that movie have done better to be more tied into the original Mad Max movies, and where they've kind of they're all in the same universe, but they're very much not like they don't have the same feeling to each one. Like, did that hurt the performance of that movie? You know, and I wonder like with something like this, if it's like they're claiming they see an opportunity, and what I read the director of this said was that when he started writing it, he saw an opportunity. He liked in the beginning of Aliens that there's a scene where you see these kids that are on the space station, and he thought about like what it would be like these kids growing up on this ship, and what it would be like when they're like 20 years old, in their 20s or whatever, now have grown up on this ship, and this stuff starts happening, and that's where you're kind of getting this story picking up. And I think that that's interesting that like you take a small little sliver out of something you saw back then and like build a story upon it, and that's how you fill in some of the blanks because there is a time period between the two movies,
Yeah.
and it keeps things canon as well.
I mean, I know you have kind of like an affinity to this franchise, right? Like
I
you
enjoy
like the
it. It's
Aliens
not
franchise,
like
yeah?
it's not like I said before, it's like the Predator franchise as far as two that kind of are intersected in a way has had way more of an impact on me. And I can tell you way more about Predator than I can about Alien.
Okay.
I enjoyed them. I like the thriller aspect to them. I like the horror aspect to them. Alien video game that they came out with was really good too. Like
Mm.
our I forget the name of there was one good one. There's a couple of them that are like shoot 'em ups that aren't very good, but there's one that's like straight horror based. Alien Isolation, I think's the name, which is
Okay.
really good. So I like it. I wouldn't say that I'm like a huge fan though. But continue.
Uh Really just a question. I mean, we've already been swindled once by a space station movie this year.
Yeah,
Um how do you feel about this one? Are you like optimistic?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think that that trailer, and we can get into the trailer now, I suppose. But like,
Yeah.
I think that trailer feels very authentic to me to what Alien and Aliens
I
is.
mean, really without knowing any context, it just looks visually appealing and looks like the type of movie I'd really want to see in a theater.
Yeah, I think that it's going to have a lot of tension. I think that they have some shots that are pretty much like pretty are kind of nods, tip of the head, like to tip of the hat rather to like the original stuff that came before it. I think that Kaylee Spranny, that's right, I think that's her name, right? I got that right. Um,
I'll find out for you.
is doing her best to be like Ripley and like in some way, or at least like kind of like be like that type of character. I think when you get like it is, you have a good cast to it. I don't know. I think there's like a skeleton of what I'm excited for here, and I think the trailer did a good job of it. I've been pretty excited for this movie all year, honestly, because like it hasn't been a great year for horror to me. Um, it's been like we've gotten a decent volume of horror movies, but I think they've all been pretty
Mid.
mediocre at best. You
Yeah.
know, nothing that's really hit for me. And not that this is meant to be true horror. It's kind of like action, sci-fi, horror, thriller. It's a little bit of like a combination movie, I'd say. But it definitely should be scary to people. And I'm hoping that this hits on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more sci-fi thriller than horror, but
They that's another thing he did say because the first one's more horror based. The second one is more considered a thriller.
mm,
And he said he's trying to toe the line between both of those movies a little bit with it. So like I said, yeah, I'm definitely optimistic. Like obviously ISS was bad, but ISS was different too, like
yeah.
different
I was
premise, you
just
know.
throwing out there as a joke.
Yeah.
Um, bad joke, but a joke nonetheless.
Was there anything that intrigued you with the trailer?
I mean, again, I don't really know anything about like the Aliens franchise, so like there wasn't much for me to tie it to, but like it just seemed like they were kind of like trapped on a space station survival type thing. Looked like maybe the alien was growing inside of one of them.
Yeah, the face huggers grow inside of people and then they fucking burst out of their chests.
Sick. Love that. Um but I mean all of that just made it seem like it's gonna be a pretty like intense and entertaining movie.
Yeah, I also read that like he's trying to use more of the filming techniques of the original movies, which were like I think the original came out in like '79, so it's another movie where these are older films.
Mm,
I might even be it might even predate '79. In all honesty, yeah, no, I was actually exactly right, '79.
hell yeah.
And then Alien 3 came out in '92. Aliens came out in '86, so you had a 7 year gap between them. But he's trying to keep more practical in like the filming that he's doing. While also, but like he was like, obviously, I don't want people to feel like they're going to be getting a movie that feels dated. So like it's going to still have a lot of themes of like 2023, 2024 when this movie's being made, like in there in like terms of the effects that they can use. But they are trying to remain practical in what they do. And I think that like there's a lot of movies in the '70s that kind of revolutionized filmmaking for their ability to take like what was available to them at the time from a practicality standpoint and like make it as good as it is, and that's why like a franchise like Aliens has been able to stand up the way that it has. I think
Yeah.
about I already brought up Halloween. You had like a Nightmare, like you have like these movies that Nightmare might be '80s, but yeah, you just have these older movies that have stood the test of time because of the ability to be like to use practical effects in such a strong way.
Okay.
But yeah, so you're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in watching like any of the original stuff to
I
have a better
mean,
understanding?
it sounds like based on the time period this is based in, I really just need to watch the first two to get context, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, like to have like an idea of like the lore, I guess, a little bit more and what to expect. Yeah, the xenomorphs, I believe is what the monsters are called.
Sounds
Um,
about right, yeah.
but I would also say like there's not a bad idea to like watch one of the modern ones too to have something to compare it to. So like watch a Covenant to have like a little bit more to be like this is what modern interpretations are it's
Mm.
versus what they originally were meant to be, you know. But
Sounds like a lot of homework.
I mean, you have months, dude.
What do we got for a release date?
Um,
August?
yeah,
August 16th.
yeah, you've got time to watch 3 or 4 movies, dude. There's a night you're gonna be sitting there like, what do I watch? And then you can just hop on Max and be like, I'm gonna watch Alien,
Mm,
which I'm pretty sure that's where I watched it. I assume it's still on Max. Oh no, Hulu is where it is now.
gotcha. That means I gotta endure some commercials.
Yeah, that's brutal. That is brutal. Okay. So the next one we got, uh, Venom: The Last Dance.
Yeah. Misleading title. It's not a musical.
There is a dance in it though. There is a dance sequence.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. With Miss Chow, is that her name? Something like that.
I think you're just being racist, but
Feels right.
it could be her name. Could be.
Being racist feels right.
Of course it does. Yeah. Good job. Proud of you.
um,
I think it's Miss Cho. That's what it was.
okay, so like, come on, dude.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to call you out, but you weren't that far off.
So this looks like it kind of picks up where the
Mrs. Chen. I just looked it up.
I knew there was a CH. This looks like it picks up pretty much right after the end of would it be No Way Home where they ended in the post credits with him on the beach with Tom Hardy on the beach and the
I don't
whatever crawling
remember
on the thing.
this. I don't remember the post credit.
Well, yeah, because like the whole premise was like at the end of No Way Home that like he had ended up in the wrong universe. That he in
So is
the
Marvel
times
making this one now? It's
no,
not
and
Sony.
that's where like I've seen some complaints about this trailer and like about the what's going on in this movie because they show him at that same bar capturing a piece of like the Venom alien like thing
Oh
crawling
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
the thing, and they're like, well, that would imply like in the end of No Way Home, I'm pretty sure it implies that he got pulled into a different time, but this would imply that he's still in that other time and that guy found it at that bar. Maybe it happens before that time, like or like I don't know, you know. Maybe they'll explain it. I assume they won't, just based on what I've seen from like the story ability of this movie, you know,
Yeah.
or of these movies that they probably don't care very much. But it looks like he's very much still on vacation based on the shirt and all that in the beginning of the trailer. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be tough to like they'll link it some like they probably won't link it all. I feel like they'll ignore all of this between the timelines and just do whatever the fuck they want to do based on what we've seen from these movies thus far. Um, with that being said, it looks like he is still on vacation in this, just based on the shirt and the attire and
Yeah.
like where he is, right? Um, and for what it's worth, I don't hate the Venom movies. I don't know where you kind of fall on them.
They're fun, but they're nothing amazing.
Yeah, like they're not like to the standard of like a really good Marvel movie, right? Like
Yeah.
um I would say they're pretty on par with a lot of the mid-tier Marvel movies that we've gotten though. And a lot of the
Yeah.
bullshit that we've seen over the past couple of years post Endgame. Like it's
Yeah.
to say it's like that much worse than a lot of those other things is like I think you're kind of lying to yourself in a way.
Anybody that makes that take, just remind them Madam Web just came out.
But that's also a Sony movie.
Oh shit! Fuck. Mm.
I was thinking you were going to say something like the Marvels, which I know you really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
No, that was actually
um,
bad. Yeah.
I just think that there's been enough like we're in like a muddy area right now, and I think that these movies, at least for me, if I turn my brain off to it, is you know watchable enough.
Yeah.
You know, uh,
Enjoyable.
and I think this still looks like it has some humor to it, which is enjoyable. I like the relationship between Eddie and Venom. Like I think that it's a fun little like
The
dynamic.
part in the trailer that made me chuckle is when they're trying to say "We are Venom" in unison.
Yeah, yeah,
Reminds me of when we tried to transition to the taste test.
yes. And like right after that, when he eats the heads off the dudes, and it's
Yeah.
just like he's like having the time of his life. Like you bring me to all these nice places. Like
Yeah. Like you just took him to a Michelin star restaurant.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. Like I think that's always fun.
Yeah.
Um, and it like, but you know, everything from there, it's like the story's probably going to be whatever. It might have some decent action sequences, but I think to me, honestly, based on like even what we're saying there, if this movie delivers on at least humor, I think it ends up being passable in a way. Um, what do you think of the Venom horse?
I thought that was sick.
Right, like that's like
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like how fast do you think this thing can go without you killing it?
Yeah. He just fucking jumps and possesses the horse.
Yeah, like I
Because
thought
at
that
first
was
I saw that happening. I was like, oh shit, is he gonna like mesh like Eddie and the horse? But no.
he just removes himself from Eddie onto that and
Yeah.
goes. Yeah, yeah, I thought that that part was cool. Yeah, I think if you have ideas like that, if you can find a way to be humorous throughout it, you're at least going to get something that I'm not going to hate watching.
Only thing I really am kind of fearsome of is I feel like we've already seen all the best scenes of the movie.
It's a long trailer, like
Yeah.
2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that, and you have to imagine the movie's an hour and a half to an hour and 45. And you've blown a lot of decent stuff. But you know, ignore any other trailers we might get after this point, I suppose.
Yeah, like that was enough to get me intrigued in the movie, but again, my biggest fear is like a trailer is supposed to get you hyped and wanting to see more, and I feel like I'm gonna go watch the movie and be like, "Oh, all right, cool. I already saw all the best parts of this movie."
The only other thing is, so Andy Serkis was the one who directed, I guess, the last two. He's famous for being like Gollum, and he was also in like the original three Planet of the Apes movies, like Rise of the Planet of the Apes,
Oh, okay, yeah,
Dawn,
yeah,
all of that. He was like he
yeah.
played a major part in those movies. And he did the first two of these, I guess. And like he decided to not do this because he had prior commitments, but he also said he felt like there was still more story to tell before any type of a crossover with Spider-Man would have showed up. And I think there was some like creative differences there. And I kind of wonder because like you're titling this The Last Dance. I'm pretty sure that I had read that Tom Hardy was this was his last time doing it potentially. That like seeing the way this is playing out, are we gonna get a crossover with Peter Parker and Spider-Man? Are we done with this franchise altogether? Maybe the property's moving over to the MCU and like the X-Men's of the world and some stuff like that, where you're shifting it and it's gonna get a complete reboot in the MCU. I don't know, but like I do question a little bit there as to like, is this truly the last movie? If it is, are we just done with Venom for the foreseeable future? Because it's obviously a large omission from like the Spider-Man catalog if we never get a crossover with like the
Yeah,
Tom Holland Peter Parker.
yeah.
This kind of transitions us into another topic I wanted to get into. I saw a thing about Sony is going to be focusing more on using AI to generate their ideas and their scripts going forward as a cost cutting measure.
That seems lazy and shitty.
I mean, but that's how most of their movies have seemed, at least from a superhero perspective. So,
Yeah,
you know, um, they've had like I think it's just their superhero movies that have like largely been bombing. But like, yeah, I think it's a weird look, and I did read the article. It was a little long to follow, if I'm being honest, because like a lot of it's talking about how we just went through the whole writer's strike, and a large part of the writer's strike was the use of AI, and like they have to figure out a way to do it that abides by like the stuff that they agreed upon there. And it didn't say
mm.
they were only going to use it, but they're going to explore the idea. And like, yeah, I it scares me the idea of like we're getting further down this road. And it's a larger conversation about like it started with like fucking self checkouts and supermarkets, and now we're just getting to like computers like writing movies for us. Um, like we're gonna get fucking replaced, dude. Like,
Skynet.
yeah, all of that shit's gonna come true, right?
Yeah,
Like there's not gonna. I was gonna make a joke. God, I probably can't.
I.
Let me give you the outline of the joke. Remember all those things talking about the jobs that Americans don't want?
Yeah, I thought that's where you're going. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Americans are going to start wanting those jobs real soon.
Gotta take what you can get.
Yeah, like it's like we're like I don't know. Although like an alien, oh not an alien, fucking robot can probably be like a janitor real quick. So
Oh, 100%. We already have those.
yeah, like we're fucked, dude. Like we already have
Think
that
about how
little
many people have robot vacuums in their house.
yeah, and like you have that robot that like goes around the fucking aisles of like Stop and Shops or whatever, right?
That one's weird.
Yeah, I don't really know what it does. I've never known what it did.
No, it just stands like weirdly like just comes near you and it's like what the fuck is
Yeah,
going
like what
on?
is it got to tell me something? Hit me up about a promotion. I don't know. Like tell me like what's the sale over here right now? Like I don't really know what the premise it is. I would love to know if somebody could explain to me what the Stop and Shop robot does.
I think it's called Marty.
That actually works. I was going to critique it, but supermarket, so Marty feels like it works. But yeah, like
Yeah.
soon enough, we're not going to be necessary for anything. And we're just giving all this shit away because we're allowing these companies that are already rich as fuck to use it as cost cutting measures, right? Like, don't make it. Why do we make things cheaper for the rich while taking away? We're going to eventually just take away from the people who aren't rich because they won't have jobs anymore.
Just eliminate the lower class.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, man.
Yeah.
Eat the weak, dude. I think the saying was supposed to be eat the rich, but like they're just eating the weak, dude.
I've never heard that phrase.
That's something that the libs say.
The libs, you in those circles.
I'm like on the outer edge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Storming the Capitol.
No, that's the not libs, dude.
I don't know politics.
That's the Serbs. Those were the Serbs that did that, dude. I don't know if they shorten their names. Would cons or Serbs work better? I don't know. At least one of
Connies.
at least one of them's a con. Am I right?
Ain't wrong.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Next up, uh, you watched The Bear, correct?
I never like finished it, but I watched like I think like maybe the first season or half of the first season.
Okay. Would you classify that as a comedy or a drama?
Definitely more drama.
Okay. So there is a push by like rival TV networks right now because in the last award run for TV shows, it was nominated as a comedy and it won a bunch of the comedy nominations. Like it won a ton of awards last year for being a comedy. And there's a push to try and get it moved into the drama section. And
Yeah.
I've never watched the show, so I don't really know where it falls. Like from what I understand, and I read an article here, like it does teeter on the idea of like it's a little bit more of a dark comedy. Like some of like the humor that it does have is kind of like
I would say it's really more I guess you could call it like a dramedy, but it's definitely more drama. And it yeah, sure, it has some humorous moments in it, but I wouldn't say that's like the defining genre.
yeah. So I guess this is a thing that's happened more so in like the past like 5 to 10 years, where there's been a real issue on how to qualify something as a comedy or a drama and what they do for award shows. To the point where like 5 or 6 years ago, apparently it was set that like it was based on runtime of your show affected it. So they would essentially reserve comedies to things that were like episodic TV shows, like the Office, for instance. So if your
Mm.
TV show was less than 30 minutes, you were deemed a comedy, but if you were over 30 minutes, you were deemed a drama. And they've since gone away from that. They don't use that as a determinator.
Yeah, I don't think that can be like the determining factor.
Yeah, no, it can't. But like they mentioned, like Orange is the New Black, for instance, started as being nominated in the comedy stuff for like the early seasons, and eventually transitioned into drama in their later seasons for where they were nominated for their awards. Uh, but it's these other shows that are still truly comedies, and I don't have the article up anymore, and I don't watch enough like different TV to be honest, like to list.
Yeah.
I know it was like Only Murders and like the Building 13 or whatever, which is like a maybe a Hulu show, or I think Selena Gomez is in it. Regardless,
I think you're naming two different shows.
okay, look up the Gomez show for me, please. Um, but there's shows like that people really like that are true comedies that aren't going to win because the Bear is obviously kind of a beast at this point. People love the show. The acting and like the performances are fantastic, so it ends up being that it's going to win a lot of this stuff, right? With very little comedy that ensues in it. Only murders in the building. Only
Yeah.
murderers in the building.
Only murders in the building.
Yeah. But they're like, there's a push, and they said that it's probably not going to happen. Like, it's not, they're not going to make them be a drama. But
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of interesting.
I was saying two different shows because there's definitely another show that's like something about Apartment 13
Oh, isn't
that you
that
were
the
like
bitch?
mixing up.
Isn't it called like the bitch
Yeah,
in
don't
Apartment
trust the bitch in Apartment 13.
13?
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Is James Vanderbeek in that?
James Vanderbeek
Dawson.
from Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like he's in it. Okay, couple more things. So Dennis Villanueva, the director of Dune 2, said that he is disappointed that Dune 2 is still the highest grossing movie of the year this far into the year. And he hopes to see somebody pass it soon.
And who is this guy?
The director of Dune 2.
Okay. He's upset that he doesn't have competition.
He's just upset for the theaters more so that people aren't going to see these movies. And I thought it was interesting coming off of Furiosa, right? Like we've seen other movies that are good this year that are losing money that people aren't going to see it, you know? And I think that it's kind of his thing where he's like, movies, we talk about this a lot, right? Like there are movies that are still meant to be seen on the big screen. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, with the way that things are trending, you're going to get more and more stuff. Like they've talked about, I read this about Romulus. That was originally meant to be a Hulu product.
Huh.
That was going to go to Hulu directly. And if you remember the movie Prey, which is a Predator movie, people didn't really know it was a Predator movie when it was initially coming out. But Prey released on my birthday to Hulu directly, and people watched it and were like shocked at how good it was. And it was like, damn, this would have been really good to watch in the theater. And it seems like they learned, and that's where the like Alien was turning out what I assume is good enough that they were like, this should go to the theater. It shouldn't go straight to streaming, and they pushed for it to get a theatrical release. But I think his point is that like it's a bummer because there are good movies like Furiosa that have come out that should be watched on a large format with the proper sound and all of this stuff that aren't getting watched. And I think that that's why he's disappointed that he's not seeing any competition for himself in the box office. Obviously, he's proud that his movie has performed the way it did despite all of this stuff, but like it's a bummer to see that lack of performance. So that kind of led me to my question of like, do you think that there are any movies coming out this summer or into next year? And I don't know if we want to pull up a list because I don't remember the end of the year as much. Obviously, know the summer releases that are going to end up being like considered highly successful. And I think we should start with like we have Bad Boys coming out.
Yeah.
Do you think that that is going to be a successful movie?
I think it's going to be successful. I don't think it's going to be highly successful.
Yeah, well, I think it's all relative. Like, I don't mean it's going to be $1 billion movie or something like that,
Okay.
right? But like, what I
Yeah.
mean by that is like, is it going to double what the budget was? For starters,
Yeah.
like that would qualify as
Well,
a
what's their
success,
budget?
right?
Do we know?
No, I'd have to imagine 100 mil.
I think more than that.
You think?
Yeah,
I don't think Michael Bay makes them anymore, so I don't know why they would need more.
fair enough.
This
one's Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Yeah, which dude, we brought this up. Will Smith was like, we got the name wrong. Like Bad Boys for Life should have been the fourth movie.
Oh shit, you got it.
100 mil.
90. You said no more than 100, so
yeah. I just couldn't see why it would feel like it needed to be more because Michael Bay was doing all like the crazy stunts and like car accidents and stuff. And just off the vibe we got from the third, we didn't have that type of level of production put into it. For as far as production, I don't know if you saw this going around. Like it was on Twitter today. I saw it. There's a really cool shot that they were showing how it was made of Will Smith, and it's when they're showing like a POV of him like going into a room to engage in a fight with like a shootout, and it's a shot of first person with him in the gun in his hand. And then the camera flips to his face, and then a camera flips back to his gun, and that's a rig that they put on him with the camera is on like a spinning axis.
Oh, and it's actually flipping.
Yeah, so like it's here, and I don't know if it's him flipping it because it's like when he brings his gun here, the camera flips to his face as he's leaning up against something, and then as he goes to pop back out, he puts his gun out, and the camera flips back around to get the shot. I thought that was really cool.
That sounds sick, yeah.
Yeah. But like, okay, so that movie should be a success. I think it'll make a couple hundred mil. In all honesty, I think that it has the name value and the actors attached to it, and I think people were pleasantly surprised by not just the performance of the third one, but the quality of the third one, that it should end up being pretty well received. I think next up, Day One.
Day One, yeah.
Success.
As much as I want to see it be a success, now seeing how Furiosa performed, I don't know.
Well, let's go back to the thing with Furiosa. Furiosa is just getting to $100 million worldwide and at a budget of 160. Like, it was too expensive, I think, is part of the issue. Because I go back to like Day One, it's not going to be this. It's not going to be as difficult to be successful because I have to imagine the budget for that's only like 60 or 70 million. But so I agree in the sense that like it's not going to make $500 million, but I think that it has enough that it can make 120, 130. The only thing I have against Day One at this point is we've been seeing trailers for it for 5 months.
Yeah.
Like we've seen too much. And it was the same trailer a lot, don't get me wrong, but like as a person who has seen way too many movies this year, I've seen that trailer before like more than half of them. Okay, so then after that, maybe Twisters.
Twisters.
This is a 50-50. Twisters, I think, could be a bomb and not do at all what it's expected. Or I think it could flip and it could be your most successful movie of the summer. I think it's going to tell you a lot about Glenn Powell.
I don't think Twisters is going to be that big.
So then you'd have to assume flop then, right?
I think so.
Okay.
And I'd love to be surprised by that, but I just don't think it's going to do huge numbers. I guess it depends, like, what is coming out around, because I haven't paid attention to too many of the upcoming release dates, but...
I mean, I think that you have some freedom until Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah.
Twister, actually, it's only a week before.
So that's going to kill it.
They're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're definitely fucked. I mean, but then, like, moving on, Deadpool Wolverine is going to make a ton of fucking.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the one this year. I think that that's the next one that can truly challenge Dune from a financial standpoint.
You say the next one. I think it's the only other one that can truly challenge Dune.
Well, I was going to say there's an outside chance to me that the Joker, Folie à Deux, has the chance later on in the year.
I forgot about that one.
To do it. Like, I think that movie has the chance to make a ton of money. So that would be my only other one that I look at coming out the rest of the year off the top of my head that I'm like, has a true chance. I'm scrolling through stuff right now just to see if anything else pops out to me on, like, I'm on AMC coming soon, just seeing if I'm missing anything.
That's one way to do it.
It's not a long list that you get on there because you really just get the next couple months more than anything.
Yeah.
That feels like those two feel like the biggest competition this year for the ones that can make a ton of money. Just based off of what the Joker did from a financial performance, I feel like you have to assume that this one's going to do well. But I don't know that it'll do as good as the first. Although Gaga, I think, is a good drawing card for your movie. And yeah, Deadpool, I think, is the only other thing. And I think in some ways, like, Deadpool almost defeats what he's trying to say, like, too, because, like, Deadpool's got, like, the whole superhero thing behind it. And, like, there's just an assumed aspect of that performance. Whereas at least, like, the Joker's obviously from a superhero universe, but not a superhero movie. To where I think there's more of an appreciation for that making as much money as it does.
Yeah.
It's a tough year for the movies. Like, because even the things that are successful, I don't think you're going to have, like, last year where, like, you have a weekend like Barbie and Oppenheimer where they make a bajillion dollars, you know? Like, you're just not.
No, we just don't have anything set up for that this year.
Yeah, I think, like, you're either going to have things that are mildly disappointing or mildly successful at this point, right?
Mildly successful. I mean, I think the only ones you kind of nailed it are going to be Joker and Deadpool that are going to be actually successful as far as what we have left. And then I think later in the year, around like December, we have Sonic 3 that's supposed to be coming out, and that one's probably going to be successful.
What's the other one? The Wizard of Oz movie?
Oh, Wicked.
I think
that one's probably going to do
I think
really
that has a good chance too. And we didn't get later on into the year. Like, I feel like there's some December stuff that we're missing that might do well. But I think I do think, for what it's worth, Ride or Die is going to be have a couple weeks of sustainability, because the stuff that it's going up against, like, day one's not going to eat into it. I'm interested in that Kevin Costner like Western that he's got coming out.
Is it the Bike Riders?
No, American Horizons.
Oh.
I think that I mean, at least me personally, like, I don't think that movie's going to be wildly successful. I'm intrigued by it because it's a style of movie you don't get a lot anymore. And it's the stuff that, like, I remember my grandfather loved growing up. And I think that he has some clout right now, Kevin Costner, with, like, his work on Yellowstone for when he was doing it, that he's going to have people show up. And I also appreciate that he is making that movie completely out of his own pocket. Like, he's the one funding it. So I think that's really cool. and it deserves to do well for that reason.
Okay.
All right, last bit of news. We talked about Knives Out casting for the third movie. Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery is what this one's called. They've announced a ton more casting since we last talked.
Oh, who else
So,
we got?
so we had talked about 4 actors last week, and I just want to add some names to it. So Josh Brolin, big name.
I should know who that is.
Thanos,
Okay, yeah.
Cable, and Deadpool. Jeremy Renner,
Yep.
Mila Kunis,
Okay.
Glenn Close is also listed on here. So Glenn Close, another big one. Kerry Washington
Okay, yeah.
and Thomas Hayden Church, who played Sandman in Spider-Man 3. That probably doesn't help you, but we're getting into this world where like this is a
This
lot of
sounds like an
big,
expensive movie
a lot
now.
of big fucking names that they're putting onto this movie, dude. Like,
This sounds like an expensive movie just based on the cast.
but it's kind of, we talked about this a little last week. It's kind of like been the MO of the Knives Out franchise at this point, that put like make a mystery with a lot of recognizable names, and I think you're going to draw intrigue into like who the bad guy is based off of like which one of these large actors is going to end up being like the murderer in this, and like watching Daniel Craig have to like work through figuring out who it is. Like, I'm excited. Again,
Yeah.
I said this last week. It's a genre of movie I really enjoy, and yeah, I'm the more and more names that keep popping up, I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like, oh, Jeremy Renner, shit. Like Josh Brolin, okay. Mila
And
Kunis hasn't done much.
a lot of those names could just be like quick cameos or early kill offs, but like
I don't think it'll be early cameos, just based off of what we saw with like the first Knives Out. Like those characters were in it for like a decent portion, but I do agree. I think it's an ensemble cast, so I don't know that you're gonna get
a ton of screen
like
time with
like
them.
long dialogue. Like you're gonna get specific scenes for each characters,
Yeah.
and you'll have some group shots that are real. I think that's gonna be some of the coolest shit when you have these shots of all of them in the same room together, and you're like, wow, this is the cast that they've got together for this whole like
Yeah.
you know like all of these people put like other stuff on pause to like take time to do these things together. I think that's kind of cool. All right, Dante,
Do you have it?
I have
Do,
it. Do you have it?
no. Do you have it?
Taste.
Taste.
We both did this at the same time,
Yeah.
so that leads me to believe we said it at the same time.
But then you hesitated.
I didn't hesitate. You hesitated.
I hesitated because I knew you were going to hesitate, but I didn't hesitate long enough.
But then you came early.
I mean, yeah, I got to get mine.
You prematurely had it, and that's the issue.
I'm not waiting for you.
I thought we went at the same time, dude.
Nah, bro.
I thought we climaxed together on this podcast. If you climaxed with us, if you could, give us a like, comment, share, and subscribe down below, though. We'd greatly appreciate that.
Fuck.
All right, I went to the movies this week.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah, you did.
I went and saw In a Violent Nature, which is a horror movie where you're predominantly in the first person or third person, rather, of the killer. So you spend most of the time following the killer throughout the movie as opposed to following the victims. So it's supposed to be this like cool modern flip on the way slasher movies are made. And I didn't know a ton outside of that going into the movie. So like, as far as the plot's concerned, to go there first, it's essentially a lot like a Jason movie, if I'm honest.
It's what the plot sounded like, just from what I read.
Yeah, so it's like it's a boy who was like bullied and then killed as a child, and then he comes back like 10 years prior to the movie and like massacres people, and whoever was left in like this, it's like a small little camp, like a lake, or like
It literally sounds like Friday the 13th.
I know. And like there's been like they did something to like there was like an heirloom from his mother that was keeping him like dormant, and these people come and like disturb it, and it leads to him awakening.
Huh.
Um, and so you follow him as he like trudges through the woods and like goes after the people he's going to kill. This movie is it's 87%, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah. It's performing very, very well as far as critical reviews are concerned.
I mean, just from the like new refresh take, I can see why Rotten Tomatoes would hold it high.
Are you pulling up Rotten Tomatoes though?
Yeah.
Tell me what the audience score is.
Uno momento, por favor. Better or worse?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. 85% on Rotten Tomatoes currently. 45 audience score.
Like herein lies the issue with every fucking movie, dude. Like Rotten Tomatoes is the most ridiculous rating system. It's never accurate.
No, I love going by it though.
It's like never accurate, dude. That like as a person who has seen this fucking movie and as a person who this is my genre of movie, right? Like I come on here quite often and I'm like, I love slasher horror movies. I love watching them. I check them out
Yeah.
all the time, dude. Like I could not begin to tell you what they were like. Like, yes, it's innovative in the way it's set up, but it's mostly fucking boring for a large part of it because you're just silently watching this guy like walk through the woods and then the first couple kills are pretty fucking tame and boring. And then you finally get like a really gruesome one. Like
Mm.
there's a gruesome kill where he has like a fisherman's hook on like a chain and he hooks her from behind on like her behind her head through her mouth and also shoves his hand through her stomach and then takes her head, bends her backwards, and shoves her head through the hole in her stomach. This is about like 30-40 minutes into this movie that's an hour and a half long. And I was like, oh, we might be like getting somewhere here. You know, like, cause like that's pretty fucking crazy. Um,
Yeah, because I think some of the reviews I read were like it's very gory.
but like there's like one or two kills that are very gory. Cause like one of the kills early in the movie, and like who gives a shit? Like we spoil things in taste tests,
Taste
you know,
test.
like it is what it
Yeah.
is. So if you're gonna see this, you're interested in seeing it. I gave you one of them. It's the most gory probably in the movie, but you know, if you're gonna see it, see it. Otherwise, get the fuck out. Joking, and if you do get the fuck out before you go, like, comment, share, subscribe. So one of the kills, like right before that, is like he walks into a lake, like literally walks into a lake, goes underwater, and there's a girl swimming on the opposite side of the lake. You never see him come up or anything, and she's swimming and she just gets pulled underwater.
That's it.
Yeah, like that's the kill.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah.
Um,
You know what's funny, real quick? Because we were talking about like the Rotten Tomato scores on this, and I was like, huh, what would be another movie that's probably rated similarly? And like, I know you didn't watch it, but Out of Darkness that I watched like earlier this year.
yeah, okay.
Another one where it's like they have it at 86%, but it's 54% audience score, and it's like that movie did nothing for me. I don't know why they hold it so high.
It's I think that critics
I think they like new concepts. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I can
well,
see that, but like,
that's kind of what I was gonna say. I think critics rate very highly on like artistic value and like doing unique concepts in your movies. So I think that this movie took a different take. I just wish it was a little more aggressive in the way that it did it. Um and it just largely like meanders through a lot of what's happening and like I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it. For me, like as a horror fan, like it just didn't do it for me and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Not
yeah.
to mention the guy who fell asleep 5 different times in the theater sitting next to me, and at multiple points was snoring like very loudly, like aggressively. That might have taken
I
away a little bit too.
think another funny thing, just to see how much you disagree, because one of the things we like to do is read reviews while
Yeah,
talking about
I'm
these
actually
movies.
on Letterboxd. as well.
Oh no! I clicked the Rotten Tomatoes review.
Okay, hit me.
You tell me if you agree with this man, Jeffrey Anderson. This mesmerizing, deliberately paced horror slasher movie may not scare traditional horror fans, but its unique rhythms and compositions ask fresh, intriguing questions about the bloody genre.
Deliberate is a fancy way of saying slow. Okay. So like deliberate is like, hey, like this slow as fuck horror movie. Uh it's like it's I understand what they're trying to do. Like there's a scene where a guy goes off on his own to smoke weed. Like you would see this in a horror movie, right? And you're like, oh, this guy's gonna die. But there's no tension because it's this the villain walks like the monster walks around the side of the house and you're following him as he like walks through the woods to like go around the corner and then he just walks up and like he again spoilers like fucking like cuts his head off basically with like a bendable I think saw from like around a tree
Mm.
is how he does it. But like that's not scary. Like it's not like like that's what you're calling deliberate is like oh like because you like slowly watch him like a shark or some shit like go after its prey, you know, like it's like no, it didn't work. And like honestly it makes in some ways the victims look even stupider because I hear every fucking footstep that he's making in the middle of this woods as he's
So it's not like
approaching.
your typical like horror movie where it's like, oh shit, didn't hear them. They popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, like there's nothing like, oh, it's like, oh, is he over there? Is he over there? Like I heard something off in the distance. It's just like, no, like this guy's wearing a pair of headphones, and like that's their way that they work around this to tell you why you
Mm.
can't hear him. But it's just like lazy in a way. Like I don't know, like it's and also another part of it is it like flips in between perspectives, right? So I would say like 80% of the movie is from the perspective of the killer, but it's not like the whole movie is from the perspective of the killer. You get random times where you're in the perspective of the regular people too.
Mm.
And like that's also weird because it's like if you're gonna go with this theme, like
Commit.
stick
Yeah.
to it like through the whole movie, you know? Um yeah, it didn't work for me. Letterboxd reviews, since we were gonna start doing a little bit more of that on here.
Yeah.
Um So 3.5 stars on Letterbox. Tromp, Tromp, Tromp. The most insane, gory shit you've ever seen. Tromp, Tromp, Tromp. So that is him walking through the woods, making loud footsteps, and then killing people. Kind of what I
Oh,
just told you. But they gave that
I,
three and a half
th-
stars.
I originally heard that as Trump.
No,
Trump. Trump. He was
no.
just hiding a Trump supporter in the letterbox reviews, you know?
But he kind of Trump probably walks heavy too. Um. Okay, let me find like a fucking good review.
Yeah.
Um. Surpassed only. This is a 2-star review. Surpassed only by playing Jason on the Friday the 13th multiplayer video game. Interesting concept, but does nothing with it. Perspective can only go so far with nothing to convey. Visually empty and shaky performances. Really wanted to like this one. I think that's pretty in tune with like my
Your
opinion
take.
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you know what else? Last thing on this, and we'll move on.
yeah.
It does that shit at the end where they don't give you a conclusive ending. You know, like this like modern day thing where it's like the girl, there's the one survivor who gets away. And this is where I'm saying it changes perspective because like you have no idea what happens to the killer. You know he's still out there somewhere. And the whole idea is that like you have to kill him or you're never going to get away from him. But she gets away. She gets to a person driving down the street. She gets in the car, and you're in this like 3-minute like car ride to end the movie of the woman like like talking to her and telling her this story that I assume is about the killer because she's like my because I think you see the person also in the movie, but she's like my brother. I think was a one of the officers who works on like the uh like what's a like what would you, a park ranger, like he's a ranger like at
Okay.
the park,
Yeah.
right? And there was this like thing about a bear attack that had happened like the 10 years prior and he was sent to go investigate it. And the thing with the bear attack was all of these animals were killed but none of the like it what they didn't eat anything, like the bear just killed all of them, it didn't eat. and it was like
Mm.
supposed to be really weird. And he goes and he ends up uh, getting out there, and he's walking through the water, and all of a sudden this thing comes up behind him and hits him, and like holds him under the water, and basically ends up leaving him because he thinks he's dead. But they find him and he's alive. And I think it's implied that that was not a bear that did that. That it's
Yeah.
was this guy, right? Um, but you have the scene where like she is bleeding from her leg and she falls asleep, and the lady pulls over, and it's like she like wraps up the wound, and the girl's like, "Don't stop, don't stop." And like I'm like, okay, he's gonna come up and kill both of them, and that's gonna be the end of the movie. But instead, it ends with her like staring out into the woods, and I'm like trying really hard when I'm like they're staring out in the woods to be like, can I see him
Yeah.
somewhere in this? And at least, unless I missed it, I didn't see him anywhere in the woods, and it just ends. And it's like, what am I supposed to get from that? Like, what was like the ending supposed to be? And I feel like they do too much of this shit now, where you're left with these like endings that are kind of abrupt that you're supposed to, as the audience like member, interpret like what the director was like. It's left to interpretation. And I think that works sometimes, right? For a discussion.
Like in this, all they needed to do was give you some like rustling in the leaves towards her, and then that would have kind of maybe answered
Something
but
like
it
that.
just leaves you with
Exactly.
nothing.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah. And instead you're like, okay, so she got away. Like, I don't really know like what happened here. And I think that like I wonder, do you think it has anything to do with like there's podcasts like this, right? Like where you are meant to come on and have like discussion and discourse about like what you viewed in the movie, and like you're supposed to like you can take these things and interpret them, and they're supposed to lead to conversations about what you thought happened with the character. And I wonder if that like at all lends to like
I don't know how much that really does for a movie, though.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it just feels like you see it a decent amount now, and it works sometimes, right? Like I think
Yeah,
it works when the director has a clear vision that you've gotten through the movie, that you are left to be able to fill in the blanks because you understand what was told to you the whole time. And I don't think
yeah.
that this had enough of that to where you were left with a clear conclusion or like anything that was worthwhile to you. So I to give a quick rating, um I gave it 2 stars. I kind of want to drop it to 1.5. But I have it at 26. So I have it in front of Madam Web. I have it in front of Night Swim. I saw the TV Glow, Tarot, and ISS. And I think I only really have it in front of it because I'm at least going to give it the credit of the innovation in the idea of following the killer. I think that that at least was creative enough that while it didn't wow me when in execution, I think the concept is enough that I should give it credit for that. And I think that that's where I ended up putting it above things like Night Swim, and Tarot, which are obviously also horror movies. But like looking at it, it's like, dude, these horror movies we're getting are all bottom of the list, dude. Like they're all there's been nothing that has like wowed me at all this year for a horror movie. There's stuff I've
Yeah, no.
enjoyed. Like I enjoyed aspects of Immaculate. I enjoyed some of First Omen, but even with First Omen, I'm more interested in this similar to the Strangers, both Strangers and First Omen. I'm giving them more credit because I'm more interested in what the next step is going to be than what they actually did in this movie itself.
Yeah, like our best horror movie so far, I think it's Abigail.
It 100% is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention with the list, it's crazy that I got to 39 last year
and we're already at 31.
in June. Yeah. Like I'm gonna be at 39 by the end of the month.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
we're on pace to break 60 this year.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And I think when before the year started, we were just saying we wanted to hit 50.
Yeah, like one a week for the year, basically. But I'm on
Yeah,
pace
yeah,
to like 2 or 3 a week. I think is like primarily what I've got.
yeah. But I think that pace is going to break up as
I have 2 locked up for this week already. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else besides the 2 that I got. We have another horror movie this week, which What's the name?
This week. Oh, Strangers?
No, brother, we already saw Strangers.
Not
The
Strangers.
Watcher.
The
Yeah, the
Watchers.
Watchers
I,
comes
yeah, sorry. The Watchers. That's what it was.
out. Okay. Do you have anything?
I also went to the movie and I saw the Garfield movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think? Like, was I what good in my?
No, I mean your take was spot on. Like you set up the expectation perfectly, and I came out thoroughly happy with the movie.
I like
Like,
that.
I mean, it kind of started off like cheesy, like you said, but thankfully you set that expectation. I was like, it's all right, we'll get into something.
Yeah, like I said, the first
but
20 minutes is like, okay, this could be a TV show. Like, this didn't need to be a movie,
nah,
but it gets there.
no, it's fun. Oh.
Do you have any critical thoughts on it?
I mean, I was never the critical guy, so don't ask me that question. But like, at the end of the day, like I enjoyed the movie. Like I like the voice actors. I mean, who was it that played the fool? Was it Ving Rhames?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I liked him.
love the bull. Yeah.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg coming in towards the end, dude.
In the pound, yeah, in
Yeah,
the dog pound, you know.
yeah. Well, the cat pound
No, he was a dog, was he?
was
Was
he?
he a cat?
I feel
I
like
don't
they
know.
were all like it was a whole gang of cats that was running with.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I might be wrong. Because Odie was there, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
just the pound.
Um,
I don't know if we have to call it. We have to like specify. We don't need to segregate our animals.
I was just thinking, the DO double G pound.
That's fair. But I thought the heist aspect really worked. Like
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah, no, that was sick. Like, the whole like turmoil between him and his dad and shit, like it was all pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. Interesting, like take on a Garfield.
I don't really get what it had to do with Garfield, but if
Yeah.
you're gonna give me a Garfield movie, I'm happy it was
Well,
that.
like I guess I don't know enough about like is that something from like the Garfield like I doubt it's anything to do with like the actual
No,
Garfield
because it even
background.
starts it off with like, oh, this is a never before told story or something like that, or like something you
Okay.
never knew about. Like they were setting it up to be like a completely original idea because I'm pretty sure the Garfield comic strips were just about him just being lazy around the house,
Yeah.
eating lasagna and hating Mondays.
He does still hate Mondays.
Yeah, yeah,
He does eat a lot of
he
lasagna.
fucking detests Mondays.
He can eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you rank it?
I also put it just ahead of if. They can kind of you can kind of flip flop it either way, but I just think ultimately I came out enjoying this a little bit more. Um, it felt like a movie more for me, whereas like the take when we came out of if was like, damn, like I feel like this would have been more impactful if I like maybe had like a kid and like brought a kid with me to the movies and like it was like, all right, cool, that was a good message for my kid, but outside of that, like I think Garfield was the better movie. I gave it 3 stars, and it's landed at 14th.
Okay, so like middle of the pack for the year, but like I would
Yeah,
say it exceeded expectations for what the movie would be.
yeah. I mean, I remember seeing like, oh, there's a Garfield movie coming out, and be like, what the fuck is that going to be?
Mm-hmm. I think I said it last week. I had some optimism because I think like Chris Pratt exceeded expectations with Mario. So I had the expectation that and Sonic has exceeded expectations. So I think we've had this thing recently where some of these legacy characters getting animated remakes or reboots
Yeah,
has succeeded. So I've been like I was pretty like I at least thought this would be passable, and that's why I was like, I'll go check it
fair.
out. Okay, I watched a couple of movies on Amazon Prime this week that I wanted to shout out.
Back in the
Um,
rom com bag.
no. I told you about one of them a little bit. So this movie Emergency that I would like definitely recommend checking out for people because I think it has like it's a funny movie and it has kind of like a social message to it that's like pretty solid too. It's about it's kind of like a super bad esque movie in a way. Um it's these three kids in college. these two black kids and like this one like Middle Eastern kid. Two black kids are like the like predominantly white school. It starts off like super uncomfortable with them like in this like class that starts like teaching about like where words derive from, and it starts with a white woman saying the N word in the class and like talking about where it gives power, like where it gets power from, and like she calls upon them to like answer the question in the class. It's like very uncomfortable to start, and I was just like, oh, like what the fuck we got here?
I didn't even know they could make movies like that
Yeah,
anymore.
they did. They did. And it also has Sabrina Carpenter in it, which is she's like one of the
Okay.
top selling like pop artists these days, you know. In like a supporting role, but like a relatively like lengthy role. And the movie came out in like 2022. It's fairly recent. So she did this like somewhat recently. Um but so the whole premise is like, and where I say it kind of ties into Superbad a little bit, it's them wanting to go to like, there's like 7 different parties on like the last week of school before finals. And they want to be the first kids, like so there's like an African American like hall of like fame, so to speak, where it's like all these accomplishments for like, for them, like in that they've had in school history for sports and all this stuff. And they want to get their picture up on the wall for being the first guys to go to all of these parties because it's all these different types of parties that they're going to go to. But before they can go out for the night, they find a white girl passed out drunk, like in her own vomit on the floor of their house. And they're like, we need to call the police. Like she's almost dead. Like we need to call an ambulance. And like they're like, what is that going to look like that we have this white girl near death in our apartment passed out? Like we can't call them. We need to just like bring her to the hospital. And like from there all this stuff like ensues of them trying to get her to the hospital that night,
Mm.
and it builds up to like a pretty like intense climax like towards the end of the movie, and how that all kind of sets up. But throughout the story, one of the more interesting aspects is like, remember in Superbad the whole premise of like Evan and Seth, like him not wanting to tell him about going to a different school and that they weren't going to live together,
Yeah.
and like that being like there's that whole kind of backdrop to this where one of the kids is really smart and he gets made fun of because he's like he's basically called white the whole movie, because he's super nerdy and into school and shit like that, and he gets into a school that's not going to be going with his friend anymore, but he hasn't told him. So you're like building through the whole movie to also get to that point of them having like this huge issue because of that, and I think that that's where the super bad tie-in, excuse me, kind of comes from, you know. But yeah, I think it's funny enough, and it also, like I said, from a social like standpoint, it executes pretty well on like the message that it was trying to convey. So I would 100% recommend it. I feel like everybody has Amazon Prime, so check that out. You know,
Fair point. And if you don't, you know somebody that does.
yeah. And then the other thing I caught on Amazon Prime was this movie called Burn, which has Josh Hutcherson in it, who plays a guy who is in debt to some bad people who robs a convenience store. The whole movie, or a gas station, they can sponsor us. Um, they like the whole movie takes place just in this one gas station. Nowhere, like doesn't take place anywhere else. The whole thing's filmed like in this one gas station.
For the purpose of this review, it's a Bucky's.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Although there's like a decent amount of murder and stuff, so like I don't know if that's good or
Hey,
bad.
any publicity is good publicity.
Right, there we go. But so it's this girl who's like socially awkward, who doesn't have any real friends, and she just like she is a virgin, like no guy's ever like been interested in it. She has like a hot coworker that like all of the guys are interested in her every time they come in and never pay her any real attention. Like they might talk to her, but it's always like the affection is given towards her coworker. And she's just like growing more and more frustrated with that. And like Josh Hutcherson breaks it, like tries to rob them, holds them up for money, and it like builds into this like thing where it gets out of control because the girl wants to go with him when he's like, I'm gonna get the money and like get out of here, and she's like, take me with you, you know. And he's like, no, like I
The
can't do
fuck?
that, whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of flips on the head where like he was the bad guy, but it kind of turns into her, like it gets out of hand for her, where she like is accidentally responsible for deaths, and then like the biker gang knows where he was supposed to be to steal the money, so then they show up, and all of this different stuff keeps happening. I don't want to spoil it because I do like both of these movies. I ended up like just coming across by accident on Amazon, and I think they're both pretty good. And I was looking, there's some other movies on Amazon that I'm like, these don't get any promotion, but they look kind of interesting that I'm going to go back and check out too. But yeah, so
Okay.
Burn and Emergency, both on Amazon Prime. Highly recommend both of them. Both a different vibe, but if you're looking for kind of a thriller, dark comedy to a point, uh, Burn is like a good one to go with. And then I would say like a dark comedy again with Emergency. It plays pretty well for that too.
All
Because
right.
there's like Emergency definitely has some serious like tones to it, but it's like lighthearted through it as well.
Hmm.
You watch anything?
A couple weeks ago, you told me to check out Dark Matter for you on Apple TV.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me know.
I got through like the first 4 episodes. um, Honestly, it's like at the point that I'm at right now, I don't feel like I can give an accurate review on the show just because like it's one of those things where it's like it's definitely an interesting concept, but it's kind of gone nowhere so far.
Okay.
So it really depends on where they kind of end out the season on how I feel about the show. So I am going to go back to it and finish it, but they're doing like a week by week release. I think episodes 5 and 6 are out now. I just haven't caught up.
So you have to like you just don't know where it's going yet, kind of deal.
Like it's predictable enough in the sense that you get an idea of where it's going, but it's more about how they get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you recommend people to at least give it a shot?
Yeah, I'd say check it out. I mean, like, I don't know, like these like weird concept like sci-fi shows are always like hit or miss, but like I think if they're like executed well, they can really take a good concept and run with it and make it something very interesting and enjoyable. And like so far, they definitely have my intrigue, but it's just it hasn't done a ton for me to say, yeah, like no, must watch. Like it didn't really get me that whole like locked in from episode one feeling. It was more so like, okay, this is weird. I'm just curious, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the vibe I've been
Let's
running with.
let's see where this goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but that's good enough to keep you coming back. Is like, what are they doing here? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where I say like it all depends on how they wrap up this first season. Because if it's something where it at least answers the questions I've had from like the first 2 episodes, and it gets to a point where it's like, okay, it was kind of dry the whole way through. I don't care about a season two, then it's a fail, right? But like if it gets to a point where it's like, holy shit, things just leveled up way more and this just got so much more interesting, then that's where it can really take it home for me. And that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay. You watch anything else?
Uh I watched something on Netflix.
Okay. Stole somebody's password.
No, no, no. I was just over somebody's house and threw something on and ended up watching it. Queen Pins.
Pride Month.
It's actually not a gay movie.
Yeah. Sure.
It's just like a really weird, like goofy comedy. Basically it's like this suburban like housewife, I guess. It's like a former Olympian and like married to an IRS agent, and she has a thing for like couponing, but
I think
then
I
gets into like
I think I know what
counterfeiting
this
coupons.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I've seen. I didn't watch it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
And then they just like fucking things get all out of hand. It's funny enough. I
Who
mean,
was
it's
the
okay for a
actress?
Netflix movie.
You know, I feel like it's like
Fuck, I'm not good with names, but
it's a
the
notable
the
actress.
main actress is definitely notable. Give
Yeah.
me a second, I'll get your name.
Is it like Renee? No.
No,
Fuck. I haven't come across it in a while, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
yeah,
I like her.
yeah. No, she was fun in that.
It ended up being good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, like, I'm not gonna say like, holy shit, this was great, but I think it's like one of those like perfect like streaming movies where it's like shit, like you throw this on when you got nothing else, and it's enough to like make you chuckle, and it's an okay, funny movie. What who's the other actor? The dude I really like from he did that Richard Jewell movie.
Oh,
Get
Cole
his name.
House. No,
Fuck.
not Cole Hauser. The dude you're talking about he's really into wrestling and he's been doing a bunch of wrestling matches recently.
Paul Walter Hauser.
Yeah, Hauser. So I said Cole Hauser, but Right.
So he also has like I would say like a leading role in this movie,
Mm.
and probably main reason I ended up watching it the whole way through because he's fucking great.
Yeah.
I mean, he still plays like the same character, like kind of like the loser that's really aspiring to be more and wants to get noticed, and it's just he plays that role so well. It's fucking
You
hilarious.
should check him out wrestling, dude.
Does he actually wrestle?
Yeah.
Hell
He's
yeah.
had some matches recently. He's like doing like indie wrestling. So he's not even like big, like he's like an indie wrestling fan. Like he's a legit wrestling fan. He's doing like he's like doing matches. It's really weird.
Okay. Hell yeah.
But I've seen him popping up a lot more.
Nah, yeah. I love this dude. I mean, anything he's in, I'm gonna watch it regardless. But yeah.
Uh,
I
um,
didn't even know he was in it. That was just a fun treat, honestly.
the only other thing, like like this isn't something I need to talk about. I've been watching Daredevil and the Defenders, on Disney Plus. I also watched Deadpool 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, speaking of Deadpool 1 and 2, so Deadpool versus Wolverine. I rewatched the trailer after I finished watching Deadpool 2 because I was like, you. I don't know when the last time you saw the Deadpool versus Wolverine trailer was, but it starts off with them at like a family dinner, right?
Yeah.
And his girlfriend is there, or fiance, or whatever, is there, as well as some of the other characters from like Deadpool movies. In Deadpool 2, the whole premise of that movie is that his girlfriend's dead, or his fiance's dead, and he's trying to die to go like be with her. So it leads me to like there's no thing where she comes back to life in that. So that leads me to believe, and maybe this has already been kind of clear because we know that the timelines
The TVA.
are involved,
Yeah.
right? That this is a different timeline Deadpool,
Mm.
or something like that is going on here because she's alive in this movie.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, like there's something going on there where like the TVA is very much promoted in this trailer. She is in this trailer and we know about the timeline stuff. And he's like hiding and like wearing a wig, and they rip the wig off of him. So I don't know if it's the same Deadpool just dropped into a different timeline or if it's a whole different Deadpool within this new timeline.
Hmm. I guess which would be more likely, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like it's like,
because it just feels like everybody's jumping timelines now.
yeah, it's just
So,
like,
like,
but
did he try to jump to a time where his girlfriend was still alive, kind of thing?
yeah, and the whole idea that like we know that Wolverine is a different timeline Wolverine, like it's not the one that we've seen through the X-Men movies necessarily. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like the question is like, did he knowingly jump through a timeline, or is it that like Disney is starting his character somewhat fresh on a different timeline? You know,
Hmm.
and we'll see how it plays out. I just thought that that was interesting rewatching Deadpool and old Deadpool 2 and seeing that. And Daredevil's still fucking awesome. Season 2 of Daredevil is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm like 6 out of 8 episodes into the Defenders, and like it's fine. It's not the best, but I kind of just want to. You have to like because season 3 of Daredevil takes place after the Defenders, so I felt like I kind of had to watch the Defenders before I could watch season 3 of Daredevil again. So just doing that.
Just running it back. Okay.
Did you have anything else?
Nah, that was it. It was a light week for me.
I mean, you get a few things. Cool. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with our Bad Boys review, and then, like I said, I'm also going to see The Watchers, so we'll have some of that to talk about, as well as whatever other news pops up along the way. If you could, though, like we said, trying to get a sponsorship, people. We're out here searching. America's Got Sponsorships. That's the show that we're on now on this. Filene's Basement, Building 19, Ocean State Job Lot,
I was gonna say, are you just gonna name businesses that no longer exist?
uh, J.C. Penney,
Oh god.
Macy's, Sears.
Wait, Macy's is still around.
Sure. Um,
I'm lost with the objective
Wet
now.
Seal.
Were you a big shopper at Wet Seal? Yeah.
Um, what's that clothing store in South Shore Plaza that doesn't have clothes? A Primark. Uh,
You said that doesn't have
that fit
clothes?
me.
Ah,
Primark. Hot Topic, Zoomies,
Journeys,
PacSun,
Spencer's.
the animal store that's in the mall where I got Bailey from.
Oh, that's where you got Bailey, the one next to Build-A-Bear?
Yeah. Don't tell people. I rescued him. I did rescue her, literally. Like those things, like they're puppy mills. They were gonna kill her, dude. I genuinely we misconstrue what rescuing is. Yeah, we need to get a sponsorship from any of those companies. And in order to do so, we need you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend. Ask a friend. We love you. Until next week, we bid you ballet adieu. Peace. Bang. Bang.
Ski ski.
For those with good taste.